Yeah, but y'all know, first interview we got coming up is Irene Diaz, 18 and 5, out of Hawthorne, California, and pretty sure that's LA County somewhere. But yeah, she's doing her thing. Just won Golden Gloves in Detroit, and you could tell I was pretty nervous in the interview. I think we were both kind of new to it, but it was a good interview. We made it work. We made it happen, and it was some good moments in the interview. She got real deep into her life, and just a good, solid interview, man. She went to the Olympic trials for the Tokyo Olympics. She's done a lot since then. She's gonna do a lot going forward. So, really excited to present this interview to you guys. And the whole thing about Not Popular is, we're just trying to be real and raw. Like you see where I'm at right now. I'm on the tennis court with my kids, just playing around. Yeah, we're trying to bring you a real podcast. This is beyond. It's deeper than sports. That's my slogan. It's deeper than sports. Mr. Not Popular, man, Eric J. Thank y'all for tuning in, and let's get to the interview. Let's get to it.
All right, everybody. We got Irene Diaz on the line. You're 6-3, correct?
You said what? I'm sorry.
You're 6-3. Your record.
No, I'm actually. It went up a little bit more. I believe right now updated. It's about 18-5.
18
Around
and
there.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I just seen that on BoxRec. So
Yeah, I don't know if they have my updated fights, but it
I got
updated
you.
like I've been pretty active for a while, so it updated around there.
Good deal. You said 19?
Yes.
Okay, all right, got you. And from Hawthorne, California?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, you're over 20 plus fights and you're still young, so like I guess let's start from the beginning, kind of like, how did all this start for you, getting into boxing? What was your childhood like?
It was actually kind of a funny story how my boxing story started. Um, my mom wanted to get my brothers into it. One of my brothers used to be a really bad troublemaker when he was in high school,
Yeah.
in the streets, all that type of stuff. And then I have another brother who's a little bit, on the heavier side, overweight, and she just wanted to get them into exercise because I used to play soccer, so she was like, oh, she's good doing her own thing or whatever. And I was like, mom, can I try it? Can I try it? At the time, she's a single mom, just trying to support for all her kids, trying to make them all happy doing their own thing. And, they liked it. And my older brother, or not my older brother, I call him my little big brother because he's kind of bigger than me, but
Right.
he ended up liking it. And um, he ended up liking it, and he just couldn't keep up with the stamina. So he was like, this is not for me. The one who's a little bit on the chubbier side, he just couldn't keep up. He did one day, and that was it. And I just fell in love, like just
Right.
fell in love. And ever since I, you know, started it, I didn't stop until COVID year happened. Everything got shut down. I was supposed to get my first fight after I was training for a while, and then during COVID, I felt like something was missing, and I started training at my house, just doing home workouts. And once everything opened back up, I started going back to the gym and I started training really hard. Within the first year back, I got my first fight, and ever since then, I was actively competing.
Okay, got you. So how old were you when you made the switch from soccer to boxing?
Um, I was kind of simultaneously doing both at 14, 15 years old, kind of as a freshman in high school. Um, you know, my parents didn't have, well, like I said, my mom was a single mother at the time, and then my dad was on the streets. So in school, I was hustling, selling chips to make the money to support for my
Okay.
soccer, boxing, and midway, I stopped playing soccer because I had one got an injury, and then two, it was kind of like really pressured on me to go like college ball, and it just didn't feel like a passion or love anymore, but something about boxing, like they saw something in me, and my footwork was already pretty natural because of soccer. So, you
Right.
know, I just stopped playing soccer like sophomore year, and then I just went back to doing boxing after COVID.
Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 So so you got started pretty early then.
Yeah.
Uh, since you started so early, what is it like being not only being a female but a young female in a like a male dominated sport? Like what is that like from like your lens, from your perspective?
Um, for me, it's a little bit. It kind of feels. I guess I wouldn't say normal, but my whole life I've grew up around men, and um, always surrounded by you know
Right.
brothers, homies, or just older like guys as like father figures. And being in a male dominated sport, there's only a couple of girls. And I've always been a tomboy my whole life, surrounded by like male influences. So I would go into the gym, and at first I would always like spar girls, and then a lot of the girls left, and some of my coaches at first didn't want to let me spar the guys because there's obviously a difference. Even if there's the
Right.
same weight, there's a strength difference, there's a stamina difference. It's just different all around the book.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, no, like I still want to get work, this and that. So they're like, okay, sometimes they want to kind of show a girl that it's different. But something about me, I just didn't, because it was a
Yeah.
guy, I didn't let that, I guess, factor into me getting my work, you know? I mean, sometimes the boys would take it easy, and they saw that I was, oh, this girl is strong. She's a fighter. Like, she's not going to quit no matter it's a guy or a girl.
Yeah.
So then I started sparring guys a lot. Like, that just became the norm for me. So going into fights with women, it felt a lot different because I can see the difference between males and females in the way that they fight. So I feel like it has been a good influence for me. At least I don't know if I can speak for other women, but for me, being in a male dominated sport, I can definitely see the influence that guys have for this sport. And as a female, it does push me to still work as hard as the guys do, still to be really strong. I mean, I know I'll never be as strong as a guy, but it pushes me to try to keep up with them because at the end of the day, when I fight a girl, it's going to be different because I train with the guys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Yeah, you see, that's one thing I noticed about if you look at most champions, like, you go throughout the whole, the history of boxing for the past few hundred years, that kind of resonates because if you think about it, all the best champions seem to come from like humble beginnings, which it sounds like you came from, humble beginnings or whatnot. So it's almost like you just kind of have like that fighter spirit in you. Like you didn't let the females leaving your gym stop you from getting the work. No, I'm just gonna work with the guys and I'll adjust how I need to adjust.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I've always thought too. Humble beginnings, like it just kind of makes you a fighter no
Yeah,
matter what, because for your whole life you've been fighting, whether
right.
it's like fighting for um the same, like, as a kid with not a lot of financial things that other kids might have, you might be fighting to try to be as cool as other kids, maybe not have enough money for the shoes, or the newest things coming out, but you still trying to look fly, you still
Yeah,
kick it and just fit in. So it's, I guess, like, also, I guess, where that respect part comes in boxing, because respect is, like, I guess I feel like pretty big in boxing. A lot of people trying to earn their respect or trying to find their place in.
right. Yeah, respect is definitely a huge thing because you think about it. I mean, 99% of the population cannot say they've stepped in a ring or a cage and knuckled up with another, man or woman. So, yeah, it's definitely built on respect. I mean, there's times I've even trained, I'm more on the MMA side of things, but there's times, you train with people that, can smoke you easily on their worst day, you know what I mean? But it's still a certain type of respect at the end of the, end of the rounds or whatever, because you stood in there and you do what you
Yeah,
needed to do.
for sure.
And I guess because you were talking about the male influences in your life, like I know you said you got into it at 14, you were a soccer kid and all that type of stuff, but like what was your first like real exposure? Like who was that first boxer or that like really you looked at and was like, okay, I want that, I want to be like that, I want.
I remember I was for this girl. Her name was Valeria, and at the time I was still like kind of fresh in boxing. And when you're fresh in, combat sports or any type of sports, you see someone with even like a hint of skill, and you're like, oh wow, like I want to be like them. You just start watching them. So I started just watching. It was like this teenage group. I started watching them a lot, and I saw how she had power punches, and I would spar her sometimes. And going back to that respect, I had that respect for her because I knew she was good. And then I started watching a lot of the guys spar, and none of them had like really fights yet, but they still had experience. This is back when they were doing like I forgot what they're called, but it was like unsanctioned like sparring events. And
Like smokers.
yeah, just like that. And we would go hit those up, and I would see those guys, and I'd be like, wow, this is so cool. Like, but there's this one specific kid. He also kind of grew up with like humble beginnings, but the the fears that he just had every time he went into the ring, no matter if it was his friend that he was sparring or like a family member or something, like he would just like bang and outbox them. And I think that was the one person I would look at and be like, wow, this guy's really good. Now I hear everyone always talking about him in the gym. Wow, this guy's really good. And then even going into boxing for a little bit, I still didn't do my studying or like watch boxing or anything because I didn't know the importance of it. And then I started watching boxing a lot, and um then I stumbled across like the new or the fighters now of boxing, like the faces of boxing, and Tank was probably one of the
Okay.
first people that I saw, and I was like, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, Tank is one of those, once in a lifetime type of fighters because not only does he have the ability, he has like there's been a million fighters that had the ability, but not everybody had the like the soft skills to be like, favorable to the press and like a household name. And you know what I mean? Like we can name a
Yeah,
million boxers that you and me probably know, you know what I mean? But the average Joe probably wouldn't.
right.
Let's see. So I guess with you saying that, it sounds like most of your influences, especially early on, were more just like local people, just like people that you were really around and watched. And so,
Yeah, it was just the people that I was around. Um, I didn't. I involved myself, but I didn't take myself on that further step. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I think also what really helped me tap into like going into the next level was also like new newer equipment. Because for the
okay.
longest time I was training with like just
Yeah,
like I think like
yeah,
$20 like Everlast gloves, my Vans. Like it was just for the longest time, and everyone around me was like, girl, you need to get like some new gear, this and that. And I was like, I don't got no money for gear.
yeah,
And things just started being blessed to me, and that's when I started to realize like this sport was meant for me, because I s- I'm not that type of person who's gonna go out and buy something unless I really need it, like down to the bone. But
right.
uh, things just started being blessed to me, and I was like maybe this part is for me.
Yeah, it's like everything was just falling in place. So, why not,
Yeah.
So, because you were saying how, like everything was just kind of falling in place for you. How did the how did the trials fall in place? Like, what was that like? Like, did you get like a call from a representative? Like, how did that come about?
For the Olympic trials.
Yeah.
So basically I was doing like just national tournaments. I had my first national tournament in Texas about maybe 2 years ago, and I told my coach I didn't win it. I don't think a lot of people really win their first national tournament, but to me, going to the national tournaments, it felt like I was competing with people who are better than me, and I like to push myself to see where I'm really at, because if you just win against people who aren't really at your level or anything like that, it some people might feel good, and for others they need more. I'm the type of person who needs more, so we just kept doing national tournaments, and I did this national tournament in Colorado, and my coach was like, if you at least make it to the finals for this national tournament, then you get to go to the Olympic trials. So I told myself in my head, all I had to do was make it to the finals. I made it to the finals in Colorado, and I already knew I had my spot in Olympic trials. So I was like, you know what, I want to win. Unfortunately, I didn't win in that one. The girl was really good. But from there, um, everything was like kind of already set up for me to go to Olympic trials. Like my name and stuff was already there for me to go. And then when I went to the Olympic trials in Louisiana, it was a really cool experience. I unfortunately didn't win in there, and I have a crazier story for after, but um, it was a really, really cool experience. They gave us like our own uniform, like they had everything dedicated to the Olympic trial boxers, and all the elite like boxers were there, and it was just cool to feel like this is where I'm at, you know.
Right.
At the time when it took place and stuff like that, I didn't feel like, oh, this is where I'm at. It was just like, oh, this is another national tournament, this and that. I really didn't savor the moment, but everything was already set up for me to go. Like after I went to the finals in Colorado, it was already set up for me to go to the trials, and the girl that I had fought in the trials, I didn't win. I was just so nervous and um jittery the whole week. And then I recently, actually just a week ago, I was in Detroit for Golden Gloves, and I fought the same girl,
Okay.
and I won her. But it
You
was,
managed that decision.
yeah, but it was a really, really cool experience for the Olympic trials. Now that I think back on it, but in the time, I was just so worked up about
Yeah.
you know the whole
Yeah.
weekend stuff.
So like, I mean, 'cause that's amazing. Even just making it that far, I mean, that definitely means you're doing something right. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of people don't even ever make it that far. Do you feel like, because I know even me, even like just training and stuff, like, like there was times when I started off just like in a little local gym, somebody's basement type thing. But then I made that move to like a real gym with like, real UFC fighter, things like that. Do you feel like it was kind of like the trials was kind of like a turning point for you? Because I've had those moments where I feel like it was a turning point, like just mentally and physically, when it came to my abilities. Okay, I fought somebody on a whole different level, and I kind of seen what that other level was like, but I also seen how far I can push myself. Did you have like one of those kind of moments? Or?
I would say recently, actually, after Golden Gloves, I just had that, because after Golden Gloves, I mean, after the Olympic trials, it was going to be about 4 months until my next fight, because trials was in December, and I knew I was going to compete in Golden Gloves, and I knew I wasn't going to compete anytime before that. So I trained really hard for Golden Gloves. And that was like my main focus and my main goal. And after Golden Gloves, coming back to the gym, and kind of just recollecting my thoughts and, kind of letting everything simmer and settle in with me, I was like, it was just a surreal feeling because me and my coach would always talk about we want to win a nationals tournament, and like we would always talk about it ever since I started competing national tournaments. And I was sparring actually on Friday, and he was talking to me in between rounds saying, you know, you're number one, because he didn't come with me to Golden Gloves. Everyone
Okay.
was kind of watching back at home. Um, I had went with the California team, but he was just telling me, you did it, and I was like, yeah, like we've been talking about it for so long, and like this is that moment. So I've been going to sleep every night like everything that I've been training for since December, like that work had already paid off now. And now people are asking me like, what's next for you? Um, what do you got going on now? Like, when's your next fight? Like, people want to see me fight now. And people have always just wanted to come support me. But I think now that people, it's like people want to see you when they see you on a different level, if that makes sense. Like, people are always going to come
Yeah.
support you. Your people's are always going to come out and show some love, but when they see that you're on a elite level, they're like, oh, I really want to see what
It's
she's
serious now.
about. Yeah. So now I just got people just asking me these questions, and to me, I'm always going to be the same person, and I'm never going to let like um where I'm at in life change like how I talk to people, or like, you know, I guess just who I am as a person. But as far as like now seeing that I can push myself to be at a higher level and be like, oh, I can go toe to toe with, these girls, or I can be number one. And as of right now, I've beat the girls that I needed to beat to be in the place that I am. So it really was a turning point mentally for me, because physically I'm in shape. I can go toe to toe with these girls, but it's definitely in combat sports, it's always a mental thing, because you have to tell yourself that you can do it to be able to accomplish what you want to do. Um, so yeah, I definitely did have a turning point, but it wasn't a little while ago. It was actually just recent, which is, I think it's a beautiful thing to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I see that. So how did, because I do kind of want to ask you about that too. How does, like, now that you are hitting these new heights, you're 18-5, you're ranked number 9 in the country. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, yeah, you're ranked number 9, so you're top 10 in the country in your weight division. How do you feel like, I mean, obviously, how do you feel like things are different for you now? Are people treating you different? Are people like trying to come around now that weren't trying to come around? Did your family treat you different, or how's life changed for you?
I would say definitely at the gym, it's a lot different hearing like champ instead of like
Yeah,
Irene, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And, even when I go spar, people are always gonna be like, "Oh, what's up, champ?" Just like out of respect. But like my own people at my gym that I know and see every day, and even sparring partners, and just hearing them say like champ, it's a little bit different to me, because not that I don't want to get myself used to that. It's just, like I said, I'm always gonna be the same person. So it's just like they address me as champ instead of Irene, and I appreciate it so much. But it definitely is different. Um, and I would say for the gym life, like I guess that's the only thing everyone's asking me, like, oh, how was it? This and that, because I went out there alone. So for gym life, it's pretty much the same, just I guess calling champ. And then for like friends and family, people are just like congratulating me. People that I obviously haven't spoken to in a while, they're like, oh, I'm so proud of you. um And then as far as family wise, my family usually watch when I go out of state to watch or do these tournaments. They usually watch me. But recently, my dad has came back into my life, and he was able to watch from home. And during that time when I was training and just upcoming and perfecting my craft, he hadn't seen anything from me doing boxing. He just always known me as a soccer player. And now like he's into my life now and he's seeing that I'm this boxer, and when he watched I'm like competing in these tournaments like national Golden Glove tournament, like he's just so amazed. And I don't know how he feels as a father, but I'm sure he's really proud, and he's really starstruck to see that like he can watch me online from
Right.
the comfort at his own home, like, be in my sport. So I'm really glad to have like that support, and I feel like definitely a lot of good things are coming into life, but I'm always aware of like who I keep around me, um, because I don't want to just, have so many people come around me and then not any of them are there because they're supporting me, but they just want to be around just because of like what I got going on in life. So I always appreciate the love and the support from, anyone who wants to show that love, but I keep those that I know who really care really close to me. And I just keep doing what I do and just training because the job like will never be finished until we're there, you know. Yeah, all about that Mamba mentality.
Right. Yeah, that Mamba mentality. Okay. So I do kind of want to get into that too, because like kind of backtrack just a little bit. So like, what is it like if you had to describe to somebody, like what is it like mentally getting prepared for these fights and these tournaments? And I mean, because I'm sure it's probably a difference between, getting ready for your very first fight versus, getting ready for, the fights you just had in Detroit. And then I know you said at one point, like you said, or I guess maybe it was this fight you had in Detroit where you said your coach didn't go with you.
Yeah, so my coach didn't go with me. Um, it's
What is that
this
like? Just like what is that? Having to go, you going to a whole nother state. You don't have your main, guy with you. What is that like?
It was definitely a lot different. I have two coaches. So the one in Olympic trials, I went with one of them, and the coach that I usually train with on a day-to-day basis, he didn't go to that one in the Olympic trials. So during that time, I felt like that definitely threw my game off because I'm so used to someone being in my corner and telling me exactly like what to do, even in between rounds, like while I'm boxing, because they're seeing a whole different thing that I'm not seeing. Um, so during that time in Olympic trials, I felt like it threw my game off. But in Detroit, I knew that both of them weren't going to come with me, and I was going to go with and be in a completely new setting. And at first, I was kind of nervous when I heard the news, but I had to tell myself before even like going to Detroit, I had to tell myself like boxing and like combat sports, those are like the loneliest sports, because you go in the octagon, you go in the ring, like your coaches aren't going to be in there with you fighting with you. It's going to be you and that other person. And it's a whole chess game. It's a whole mental battle between you and that other person. So at the end of the day, I had to mentally prepare myself and tell myself, whether they're going with me or not, I know the work that I do. I train every day. I know the combinations. So I have to know and play the game smart and do what I do. And then I started getting a little bit more excited because I was like, this is like kind of a where my new chapter begins as far as like boxing, because with the level that I want to go, you know, a goal after, this is like to get on Team USA. So with that, my coaches aren't going to be with me everywhere, especially if I do international tournaments. So I had to, I had to mentally prepare like it's probably not always going to be like this. So
Right.
going into it, I had to, be like, you know what, like these coaches, they know what they're doing. They're here for a reason, and they might not know how I box, but they will definitely see how I box, and you know, after that first round, they're going to be able to help me and tell me exactly what I need to do to win the fight. Because, again, no matter what coach is in your corner, they're always going to see a different fight than you're seeing. So they're going to be able to tell you what you need to do to win from an outsider's perspective. Because at the end of the day, the judges are not like, right there where the ref is.
Right.
So um, it was definitely a game changer, but I feel like with the right mentality and the right things that I can tell myself, it can definitely like help, and
Right.
I was able to adjust.
Right. Like I said, that's that humble beginnings, made that fighter and put that fighter in.
Yeah.
So, and then you were talking about like, you felt like back then it kind of threw your game. How do you feel like, because obviously your father coming back in your life, I'm sure that was like a really big moment for you in your personal life. So like, do you feel like, was that like is there like some added pressure now? Or do you feel like maybe that kind of helped you stir, or did it affect you at all? Like,
I feel like, well, when I used to play soccer, my dad, he would always go to my games, and he never liked soccer, but he's a sports guy. So
right,
he would always tell me like he'd always be really hard on me and criticize me a lot, but I'm the person who kind of needs that. And when he stopped being in my life, I always kept that mentality with me. Like I had to push myself. Always looking for criticism from like coaches I had. What can I do better? Like how can I improve myself? Um, and then going into boxing, and he sees like it definitely is a different pressure because no parent wants to see their kid get hit. Um,
right,
but my dad always has loved MMA, boxing, like all those types of things. So to see that his daughter gets to travel and do those kinds of things, like I said, I'm pretty sure he's happy for me. And I ask him like, what can I do to be better? And he's just like, you're a superstar, Irene. You're so good. Like he's just
mm,
showing a lot of love and support. And I'm pretty sure he's just like, I guess, trying to find his groove, trying to help with this because
right,
I'm already in my groove, training, doing my thing. But he actually just told me recently that he wanted to train with me and he wants to help me accomplish my goals and, get where I want to be. So to me, it's a really big thing for me because every time I go to the gym, like, again, it's a lonely sport. Like, I just tell my family at home, hey guys, I'm going to the gym. I never really talk much about what I do at the gym on a day to day basis. It's just always I'm going to the gym, I come back. Sometimes I can't eat the food they cook at home because I'm cutting weight. Sometimes I can.
right.
It's just very um, a roller coaster. So the fact that he wants to be with me in this journey is a um, very heartwarming for me.
Yeah. I can tell just even, seeing you talk about it. So like, because historically in boxing, the father child duos have been some of the most, like legendary, you know what I mean? I guess it's just something about dads, because your dads aren't gonna BS with you. Um, but I can tell just talking to you, like you're young, but you seem to be really like self-aware, kind of like, okay, I need to do this, I need to have this type of mentality, especially like, I'm not trying to talk, I mean, I'm not a whole lot older than you, but like somebody being your age, like you really don't always see that a whole lot. So do you feel like boxing kind of helped you build that mentality, or do you feel like that was always kind of you? Has that always kind of been how you, or who you are?
I feel like it's a mix of both. I feel for a long time I just, with the circumstances I had to grow up and deal with, I had to be self-aware. Um but I feel like definitely boxing has helped me become a lot more disciplined, because before I was doing like boxing, like seeing that I had to actually take care of my body, I was still like, I guess being young and having fun and still boxing, and I wasn't aware of like the effects like it had on my body, cuz when you're young you just have so much energy to do and just go, and you're like,
Yeah,
who cares if I go have fun tonight and then go to work a couple hours later in the morning, you're not thinking about how much sleep you're getting at night. You're just kind of doing and going. And when I started really taking everything serious for myself and telling myself, like, this is what I want to do in life, I started seeing, like, the effects of what you do on a day to day basis and how it has the effects of, doing what you had to do. So I guess I would say it's a lot of both. I've been, I guess, more emotionally aware of myself as just a person, and then going into boxing and stuff, I've been a lot of like physically aware, and just a addition to
right.
emotionally aware.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. So like, because you were talking about how, you were younger and you had all this energy and stuff. And now that you're starting to get older, if you haven't already, pretty soon you're gonna be fighting like, like real grown women, like real, like solidified real boxers and stuff like that. Not saying you haven't, but have you felt like, do you feel like now, like when you get in the ring with somebody, are you starting to feel like, oh, okay, people are hitting harder, it's getting, like, or do you feel like you kept up with it enough that it was just an easy adjustment for you?
That one's kind of a tricky question, because I've sparred and gotten in the ring with a lot of different type of people. Like I said, I on average every single week I do spar guys, so their hits are a little bit harder. But
Right.
when I have gotten in the ring with like grown women with that real grown woman strength, it's a lot different. Like, you can really feel the power behind their punches. Even though
Yeah.
I spar a guy who's like my weight and can just naturally hit harder, that power behind that punch is like, that's no joke. Like,
Yeah.
with that, if you don't have your hand up and you get clipped, like, you would start seeing some stars. So
Yeah.
um it's very different. Sometimes I'm trying to, I guess right now I'm trying to teach myself how to keep um my work, I guess, consistent, because sometimes when I go into the ring with like just knowing that, oh, I'm just gonna work a little bit, I'm gonna move around, you know my boxing does kind of change a little bit. I don't have that same energy, but I'm trying to tell myself, like, no matter who I get in the ring with, I need to keep that energy consistent all the way through, because I can't just choose to give my best when I'm with the best. I have to choose to give my best every time. So it's it's definitely different, um but I do see the importance of, I guess, making sure that I'm sharp, like, all the time, you know
Right. Yeah,
because
you
even
gotta be
when,
on your P's and Q's now.
yeah, yeah, I do definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So like, and I kind of want to ask about that too, but like, how? Because have you been at Sweet Science the entire, like, your whole boxing career?
Yeah.
Okay, so like, have you made that leap to like now you're starting to go train at other, especially you being on the West Coast? West Coast is a lot of, like a lot of good boxing out there. So like, have you
Mhm.
started to make that transition to like now you're going to like, world class gyms, whether it's like, the Mayweather gym or any gym, on the West Coast? Are you starting to like box like elite competition or spar elite competition?
um I guess somewhat, yeah. Usually I spar already, like, kind of, I get really good sparring like when I go to different gyms, but it's not like on a consistent basis, which I feel like now in the near future will be more on a consistent basis. But it will be like just here and there, going to like get some really good elite sparring. For one of Sanisa Estrada's fight. I was in her camp, so going there was a good experience. And then I guess I would see like where the possibilities were before I even knew where the possibilities were. I would see like, oh, I'm sparring with these girls, and even though they would kind of like take it easy on me because I'm still this young 17-year-old growing, at the time I didn't know like that I can really go far with this in boxing. And now I'm a little bit more mature, a little bit more developed in my craft. Like from now on, I feel like it will only be elite sparring now rather than just like, oh, like these girls want to work with you today, you know? Um, so yeah.
Right. So it kind of sounds like it sounds almost kind of like you had like a maybe kind of a journey with your confidence. You know what I mean? Like, so when did like the confidence you have now, like, okay, I can really do this? Like, I know you said you just recently kind of had like a turning point, but was there like another point anywhere in your career or even just in your personal life where you were like, I can really go far with this? Like, I can really do this.
I think it was a little bit after the Olympic trials, because after the Olympic trials and I had, you know, taken my L, I was so upset because I knew even right after, like literally right after I got out of the ring, out of the fight, I knew I could have beat that girl. It was just my nerves and my mind. Like I just literally froze up in the ring, and I was talking to my mom, and I was just crying and just broken, saying like, you know, I can't believe I let my mind and, you know, factor in and play into that. And she was just talking to me and telling me, like, you know, you shouldn't be sad in yourself because you've already made it this far. And then I was talking to my coach that didn't go with me and telling him what happened. And he had a talk with me and said, you know, like, you have, even when I'm not there, you have to know the work that we do. And for a month, I was just telling myself, like, you know, sometimes you have those phases and whatever you have going on in life where you just feel stuck and you just don't know like what you're doing wrong or how to move past that part of being stuck. So I had to tell myself, you know, like I do know the work, I do know the punches, I do know the combinations, and I had to tell myself I can't let myself get into my mind because this is what I do. I'm a boxer. I'm a constantly get into the ring with girls who I don't know where their experience level is at, where I don't know their power is at, but I still have to go out there and I have to win because this is what I want to do. So, you know, I just kind of let that simmer in, and I had to tell myself like, you know, I am good. Like just because I let my mind like control me over that fight, I've made it this far. I've sparred with world champions. I've, you know, been in these national tournaments. Like, I am where I need to be, and I can't go backwards. I need to go forward, you know? So that's when I really had to tell myself going into the training camp I had for Golden Gloves, and I had to tell myself, like, if I want to be a winner, I have to train like a winner and think like a winner. And I can't think about losing at all. So,
Right, right,
after when I guess I knew I was able to accomplish the win in Golden Gloves, that's how I knew that confidence, like, it does play a role into like combat sports. Like, you have to be confident in yourself.
right, right. Okay, okay. Yeah, I see that. I like that. I like that. So, guess on my last couple of questions for you, and I know this is something that everybody probably asks you, but you know, now that you got this confidence and everything, you know, you're 18-5, you just won in Detroit, unanimous decision. What's next for you? And now that you're 18-5, you're 19 years old, you know, are you I want to know what's next for you, but are you planning on, you know, like you're just gonna take the amateur route and keep trying to go for the Olympics, or do you plan on going pro pretty soon, or you know, what's your plan?
For the next 2 years at least, I do plan on staying amateur, just because I feel like I've been able to like kind of master on like winning over the judges. So I just want to get like as much of that experience as I can under my belt for the next 2 years, keep growing myself as a boxer and just really perfecting my craft. And within 2 years, if I feel ready to go pro, I feel like I'll make that decision to go pro. But if in 2 years I'm like, you know what, I think I can push another 2 years to be amateur and go for the next Olympics in my hometown, then I'm gonna do that. But I'm leaning more towards 2 years and then going pro. And then as far as fighting and stuff, just continue to do my national tournaments, maybe a little few shows here and there. But just, continue training and keep working hard and see like what opportunities come for me. I'm definitely trying to get on Team USA. Because I do want the experience of like fighting internationally and things like that. But, those are my goals.
All right, okay. I got you. So just kind of round things up. Can you just kind of, because I love your story. I'm not gonna lie, I love you. I feel like your story like resonates. It'll resonate with a lot of people. What? Just give some words of wisdom that you have to, whether it's a young male or female that's kind of trying to come up in this boxing game. What are just some words of wisdom that you have for them?
I guess to really believe in yourself and to not let anyone like take you away from your dreams, because I know being young, being affiliated, and just whatever relationships you have, whether they're platonic or romantic, like some people are going to try to take that away from you, or even family's going to try to take that away from you. And if like this is something you want to do, to just continue to chase your dreams and to just believe in yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the only one who's going to have to believe in yourself to continue and keep the fight going. So those are my main two.
Okay. Well, there you got it, everybody. Straight from Irene Diaz, future Olympian, future world champion. And again, I really thank you, for coming on here and just, talking to me and, kind of, let me kind of pick your brain a little bit. I really appreciate your time. Real quick, let me stop recording real quick.
Appreciate you all for tuning in to the interview. Shout out to Irene Diaz. I'm going to drop all of her information in the bio so y'all can follow her Instagram and keep up with what's going on. Great interview. See, she didn't get anything on a silver platter. She went out and hunted her food. She's still hunting. She's still hungry, young, just won Golden Gloves, 19 years old, 18-5 record. She's doing her thing. I'm excited to see what she does in the future. I hope you all are too. Just stay tuned. It's more Now Popular coming soon. We're getting some good athletes, and like I said, we're really getting down to the nitty gritty. It's in one of those, like really getting into the athlete's mind. We're going through their struggles to their greatness and everything, so just to inspire you all, because, I want to show you all you can do the same thing. As great as they are, you can be, you can have your own greatness. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, a lot of, up-and-coming athletes, a lot of sports media, but, it's not even a podcast. It's a real cast, like, it's the real deal. It's deeper than sports, Missing Out Popular.